Well, hello, friends, and good to see you again. Welcome to my channel again. So, all right, today is this recording is going to be, as you see from the backdrop, is again on globalism. And on my first recording on globalism, I told you it was going to be a long subject, and we hit the kind of pick and choose what's subject of this huge subject that we're going to talk about, and I try to cover in general globalism and its implications, especially from the political and social perspectives. And I try to touch base at various topics along with that. On this second version of uh, globalist agenda or globalism, I want to cover a few other related subjects. And I know I talked quite a bit in the first one. It was a little more than 1 hour. I didn't really plan on doing this, for 1 hour, but I couldn't shut up, and it just exceeded 1 hour. It might be similar. I don't really intend to meet or talk for about an hour, but if I do, please, my apologies. I hope you forgive me. So yeah, let's start talking about it. Globalism again. Globalism number two. On this recording, I particularly talk about the way they handle this topic. They approach in the terms you're seeing in media such as Marxism and communism, and they're all kind of going hand in hand, right? The globalist elite, and what do they want? They want to reshape the world in their own image, and you're seeing, especially in American society, that there's a lot of talk and conversation going on, and they call the radical left, the liberals, as communists and Marxists, and they are also acknowledge that they are all in the service of furthering the globalists' agenda. Now, I was I just wanted to talk about the term Marxist and Marxism, and then I want to tie it to the globalist intent. I'm thinking some people might be wondering about this. Just for those of you who don't know me, I actually got my graduate degree in economics, and I did have to study as one of the economic theories the communism, and in that Marx and Marxism. And in the context, which was the academic program, obviously in economics, in graduate school in economics, it was purely from the economics perspective. For instance, it really stayed with me because I really spent some time and effort to understand that uh, Karl Marx, when he was coming up with his philosophy, because after all, he was a German philosopher, right? A German Jew philosopher in 19th century. And when he came up with his model, at the very philosophical levels, nothing like in today's model standards, like everything is backed up with data and software models and simulations. He used one economic model as a foundation of his so-called Marxist model, and that was capitalism. So I'm going to tell you why. First off, I want to talk about this, and I will delve into something else. As he was trying to establish the communist Marxist model, what is the first off? Let's start with this. Communist model is an economic model. It's an economic system, right? In that system, state is in charge and control of everything. The entire 100% of the production and also consumption, and also therefore in between there is pricing. So the state is responsible with establishing the mechanisms to produce, to establish a set its price, and it also managing the consumption that was supposedly calculated and estimated by state the people's needs to consume. So Marx realized that to be able to establish the pricing, he needed a model, a lot more mathematical model. And he knew that. He was in the know, and in fact, he stated that the most efficient way of establishing the pricing as a pricing mechanism capitalistic system is doing this in the most efficient manner, and there is no other economic system in the history of economics that does it as good as efficiently and as good as possible as capitalism does. So he based his capital Marxist model pricing mechanism based on the capitalistic distribution, production and distribution system. Later on, during the Soviet Union time, Soviets trained hundreds of mathematicians just to do this, to be able to come up with mathematical systems and algorithms that establish the price point for each goods and services that is in control, that is controlled by the government and done by the state, right? Because that's all about state. The factory is owned by the state, managed by the state. There is nobody as business owner. There's no capitalist. We're talking about communist society. So he built his model, and based on that model, Soviets trained hundreds of mathematicians to do this. One of them is a famous one, is a Leontiev. Leontiev is one of the best ones during the Soviet times that they trained. And later on, he actually defected to the United States, and they used his talents to be able to come up with a system in, I think it was Ohio, water distribution. We were talking about 1940s or so, or maybe 50s. He came to the United States, and they used his abilities to establish the distribution model to manage the water distribution of Ohio. If I'm not mistaken, that was in Ohio. It could be a different state. Correct me if I'm wrong, but his name is Leontiev. So again, what is it that I'm telling you here is this. The capitalistic allocation system. First off, what is economics? What is the definition of it? The narrowest definition of economics is a system that resolves the distribution of the scarce resources and allocating them in a most efficient manner. That's in its narrowest term the definition of economics. Again, management of the scarce resources and allocating them within the society. That's what the function of economics. The communist system does that by 100% state control. In capitalistic system, such as in the United States, it is done through the private sector, so-called free market. The market decides. Market is the best place, right, to find that happy balance between the demand and supply, where they crisscross, right? The price levels are set. So this is how Marx built his models. So now, why am I saying this? Why am I talking about Marx and the way he established his pricing model, the way he established his economic system, and the way it was utilized during the Soviet Union, communist times? Today, liberals in the radical left are referred to also as Marxist. But we all know that the radical left in the United States is completely controlled by the tech giants and the financial giants, international banking systems. And what is the one common factor among all those things, all those entities I just mentioned? They are the ones. They are the absolute most powerful elite in the world. They control all the money in the world, all the financial power in the world, all the resources in the world. So I think the immediate question should be asked, how is it that the financial giants, the tech giants, those tech corporations such as Microsoft, such as Cisco, Google, Tesla, all these guys, all these corporations are actually behind this radical transformation of a society under the auspices of globalization. How is it that it is possible that the super mega rich elite we're talking about, they are pushing the envelope for communism and Marxism? It is entirely in a structure and completely different than the one I just discussed. I just tried to describe before this. The times of the Soviet Union in Marxist model, Marxist economic model. In what way it is different? The elite want to establish a social model, a social structure, which is actually heavily resembling the Marxist societal structure, which was experimented during the Soviet Union and currently being experimented in China controlled by CCP, Chinese Communist Party, right? So why is it that the mega elite, how is it that they would be supporting communism? Isn't that oxymoron? Isn't that, diametrically against being rich, the communism, and being rich, and rich is supporting communism? Well, no. The way the globalization is working is to be able to establish the kind of control, the level, and the depth of it is found and established actually in communist systems. It was experimented during the Soviet times in Russia, and today even still in force in China with 1.5 billion population. And then they're using that as a model. If it's working for Chinese people, 1.5 billion of them, and whatever that working means is an entirely different thing, of course. But let's use that as an example. Then they can expand on it, and they can bring communist regime to the entire planet. All 8 billion people in their vision should be living like China, like people in China are living, or like people in Soviet Union during the communism that they lived. That brings an absolute control. And they have one more advantage that Soviet Union didn't have it, which is what? The technology. The power of technology is now allowing this kind of control, this level of control at its width and depth. The spectrum of it is incredibly wide, and the depthness of it is incredibly deep. They can control through non-stop evolving technology every second of human life, especially going forward. You can imagine what kind of things will be under control. That's why the concept of Marxism is going hand in hand with the globalization, except who will be in charge? That should be the question. Who will be actually putting the rules? Who will be making the rules? Who will be in charge? Who was in charge in China's Chinese Communist Party, or who was in charge during the Soviet Union? In this system, the globalist elite, with their untold hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars, they will be in charge. And yes, the money, the power, money will still be absolute source of power. It will be owned, controlled, and managed by them. But not money is not going to be for the ordinary people who are subject to this kind of enslavement. This is nothing. The society that they're thinking about, the society that they're imagining, the society that they're trying to enforce upon us is nothing but modern form of enslavement. People in China, 1.5 billion people, however, successful the China is coming up, recently. They showed enormous amount of economic development. They raised hundreds of millions of Chinese out of poverty and made it kind of a par as far as the middle class level income of living goes and standards of living goes. But still, you know what the number one and most important problem, highest level of challenge the Chinese government has, the problem of feeding its people. 1.5 billion people. And the biggest problem of China is food, ability to feed their people. United States sends 50 million tons of wheat to China every year. If they stop sending this, there will be utter chaos in China. We're talking about starvation. So basically, they're modeling after China as far as controlling the society. That's why it is radical left is very successfully aligned with this Marxist and communist philosophy. But again, don't forget that we're not talking about the fair distribution of resources because there will be a very tiny little elite on top of the pyramid, on top of the society, such as the ones I just mentioned a little before, the tech giants, the financial giants, those guys, those people, those extremely powerful corporations, they will be in charge and their riches will be limitless because their power should be limitless to control entire populations of the earth. Okay? So that's why their philosophy, although they are the ultra mega rich, that the level of richness actually the history has never witnessed so far. This is the first time in history. This is absolutely the first time in history. And I can attest to that from the economic point of view that the world has not witnessed this kind of riches. The individuals reaching the levels of financial and economic power. The world never witnessed such power. And only a handful of people, small groups of people. That's why the term absolute elites will be in charge and they will own this planet and everything on it and in it. Every single person will be nothing but a property of this elite. You know what they're promising to people when they describe excuse me, when they describe their policies, when they describe the vision that they have in their mind, they're saying you will own nothing, but you'll be happy. You're not going to need to work. You're not going to you're not going to need money. Therefore, you don't need cash. You don't need money because we will provide everything for you. Think about the universal basic income, UBI. The whole concept, the philosophy behind universal basic income is nothing but stemming from this concept that do not worry about anything. We will take care of you as a state. You will 100% depend on us for everything to be able to survive on a day to day basis. Therefore, you're not going to need a housing. You're not going to own a house. You're not going to need a property. You're not going to need a car. You're not going to need a gun to protect yourself. You're not going to need to do a little bit of a farming to raise crops to feed yourself or your family. You're not going to need anything. We will give you universal basic income just because you are on this planet and you're breathing. But we will educate you. We will train you to be able to contribute to our society according to your obviously talents, your intelligence level, and all those things. Some people will become engineers just like today. Some people will become doctors. Some people will become bus drivers. Some people will become plumbers. But that will be planned just like during the Soviet Union. The system was planning the price levels. That's why I try to describe that when I was trying to tie the Marxism into this current modern ideology of globalization. Excuse me. Globalism is another ism, just like communism and just like fascism. It's an ism, it's an ideology, and it's a sick ideology. Sick, extremely, very sick ideology, embraced by the radical left in the United States of America. Therefore, it must be heavily challenged and fought against by American people to maintain their freedom. Everything in it, in globalization, is un American. Everything in it, all of its provisions, philosophies, teachings, whatever you name it, is un American in what America is standing for. This country was built on free enterprise, freedom of choice, hard work, having ambitions, supporting yourself without needing handouts, supporting your family without needing handouts. The day you are depending on the state for everything you need, from the food on your table to the medication you need, to education of your children, you name it. The shoes you're wearing, your winter clothing, your summer clothing, your transportation needs, your entertainment needs. If the moment you are depending on the state for each of those needs, you are becoming the property or slave of the state. State is there not for you. State is going to be there for those people whom I refer to as the globalist elite, and you will be nothing but their property. Property is not a human being. That's why you're not going to, they can tell you you're not going to need a property because you are yourself a property of the state, and property doesn't have property rights. Only those masters who has property can have property rights, not you, because you will be their property. Just like once upon a time slaves were property. That's how the term Marxism and the concept of Marxism and communism is working alongside with the globalist agenda. My During my first recording on globalism, I touched base different things, different aspects of it. I told you it was a huge subject, and it's not going to be. I'm not going to normal. I mean, you can talk about this, for forget about hours, for days, right? It's a huge, huge, huge topic, but I'm just trying to condense as much as I can to be able to communicate this, hopefully to those who appreciate. When I was referring to those four topics, right now you can see on the backdrop here, starting with the one world government and no sovereignty, so political correctness, and also open borders. Those four topics I try to touch base and explain from the globalist perspective. But now we're going back again. The first topic, one world government. That is why they need one world government that controls the entire globe as one entity, just like China is controlling 1.5 billion people as one entity. The CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is controlling them, right? Globalist masters plan is to apply the exact same control levels for the entire planet of 8 billion people, and they want to see this as one and only one entity. Therefore, they cannot even stand the idea of nations and nationalism and nationality. Those are the very concepts, the very core concepts that they want to get rid of and eliminate and do away with. That's why they are working diligently and systematically to create a chaos in the society. Right now, we're witnessing the chaos through illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is a part of this plan. It's taking place in the United States. It's also taking place in Western Europe. It's taking place in the entire developed world. Hence, just the term West. The developed, industrialized West is under severe threat and occupation from the third world countries, the immigration from third world countries. They are doing this. This is a whole planned thing. They weaponize immigration to destabilize the entire Western nations because their goal, again, going back to what I just said, they cannot stand the concept of nation and nationality. Thus, they are doing this. They keep pushing this and pushing this and pushing this to the point that societies will one by one not be able to handle this pressure. They start they will start falling. Governments will be overthrown. There will be civil wars, civil strifes, extreme chaos in every developed nation. This is absolute plan the globalists have as part of their globalist agenda. Study, please, and try to study and understand the globalist agenda 2030. 2030, just 6 years from now. These things are planned meticulously, and they've been working on this toward their goals diligently every day. Every time, every day, every week, every month, they are displaying just like a kind of a theater, scene after scene after scene, they're displaying events that appears to be very well connected, interconnected, serving their globalist agenda. At the end of the day, they want to do away with nations of the world. They want the whole global community, one and only one community, one entity, devoid of any kind of ethnicity and race and nationalistic feelings or nationalistic structures. One and only one ethnicity, almost. Doesn't matter the color of the skin, doesn't matter the religion, doesn't matter your nationality, your ethnic lineage, your heritage, doesn't matter. None of those things matter. Only one thing matters. You will be the property of the globalist masters. You will be not the citizen. I don't want to use the term citizen, but the slave, the property of the system, which is controlled by the globalist agenda, which is set by the globalist masters, and control the world, the entire planet, as one entity. And they can justify their view of the new society, hence the term NWO, New World Order. In this New World Order, they can justify this sort of structure by establishing, they can say, we're going to finish all the wars. We're going to finish the hatred. Because all the wars and hatred, all the problems and ills of societies historically always were stemming from either religious differences, ethnic, racial differences, nationalistic differences, this or that. We always had wars. We never were able to establish an ongoing peace on this earth, but we will make it. We will provide this. If they could do this, the society will not be comprised of actual humans anymore. It'll be like a robotic properties, machines. In fact, they're also working towards that. They are also trying to create a synthetic man, not really human. They're trying to work, they're working towards this goal heavily, very, very seriously. In fact, you might be thinking this is a heavy conspiracy theory that their goal of eliminating the depopulating the earth, reducing the population of 8 billion people down to less than 500 million people, uh, a lot of people would be saying that this is crazy. There's no such thing. This is really conspiracy theory. This is far too far for me, just far off. But no, these people who think they are the gods of this planet, who really think they are the gods of this planet, they have the power to manipulate everything, the entire physical plant, and the people and all the creatures living on it, and they want to recreate the earth in their vision. This is their vision. They are playing God. That's what they're doing. And when they're doing this, they're coming just like any other dictatorship, came and passed in the history. They come with offers and promises to people. They don't forget that. Look at the history. They always come with beautiful offers: prosperity, equality, fair distribution of resources, elimination of unfairness. These are the very hardcore problems throughout the human history that existed. And they come and they say, when we are in charge, when we control the society, we will provide you all these, and everybody will be happy and dandy. And all these utopias ended up extremely sadly, which is called dystopia. Today, that's why I said that historically we never witnessed this kind of power. These individuals, the globalist elite, are the most powerful that history ever witnessed. And now they believe, they really truly believe, they really, really, truly think they can pull this. To reach their goal, they have to destroy, starting with the United States of America and American society. Because America is the most powerful nation on the earth, and it controls the earth. And they have to start destroying this nation, and everything else will come easy. Once the people are extremely hopeless and miserable and frustrated to the point that they cannot even find any reason to continue to live another day, then they will come with their solutions and they will say, follow us, this is what we offer, and in this system, you'll be just fine. And imagine a person who's just about taking his or her life because there is no more reason to live. The amount of misery is so much, the pain is so much that is unbearable and beyond bearing ability to bear for anybody. And somebody is offering you a hand. Most people will take it, will take that hand. And the new society, under the terms NWO, New World Order, they will continue a new lifestyle which will be anything but human. People will not be people anymore. They won't be human. Therefore, American people should understand this: what the radical left's agenda is, and they have to take it very seriously. This is the enemy right now facing the American people. And in today's conditions, the management of it is delegated to the Democratic Party the democratic establishment to spread this evil. You remember in my first video, I was sharing with you George Soros, the absolute true reincarnation of pure evil in human form on this planet, is none other than George Soros and his ilks and his delegations and his organizations, his tentacles. He's a huge octopus, four corners of the world he is able to reach and control through his tentacles, his organizations, his delegations, spreading the evil. That's what the people, the truly patriotic American people who believe in American values, who believe in freedom, freedom of choice, pursuit of happiness, freedom of speech, right to bear arms for protection, and particularly against the tyrannical government which now we are facing. This is what the radical left is representing. This is the enemy, the challenge that we're facing. That's what I wanted to cover on this second version. Thank you very much again listening to my video. Stay safe.